So welcome everybody to Transforming Behavior and Culture with LiveSchool. So excited to see all of your lovely CPS educator faces as you are reviewing this later and sharing it with your colleagues. Know that we also have this deck available for you to be able to dive in and get into all of the details about how Isabelle is using LiveSchool at Wadsworth so that you can beg, borrow, and steal all of her great ideas as well. What we're going to cover today in the first part, we're going to start by talking through how educators across Chicago Public Schools are providing points in LiveSchool, how they use it, how they put it into play. And then Isabelle at Wadsworth is going to dive into specifically how she's put LiveSchool into place in her classroom and how the school is kind of transitioning into using it for multiple years now. We're planning on this taking about 40 minutes and then leaving a solid 10 minutes at the end to go over any questions and answers. But obviously you can always reach out to the LiveSchool team if you have any questions as well. And so let's kick things off with what LiveSchool looks like and how CPS educators are using LiveSchool to recognize and reward all of their student behavior. The way that this works is we recognize so many of you as teachers are expected to come up with your own classroom management system on your own. With LiveSchool, your school sets up a consistent school-wide rubric that everybody uses. So all of you as teachers, any staff members in your buildings, all of us are aligned to the same expectations. And that way you've got uniform behavior standards across all of your classrooms. And then what that looks like is that with that school-wide rubric in play, every staff member can award a point across whatever setting that they're seeing a student in. If they're at the classroom, if they're in the cafeteria, if they're in the hallway, any device that they have available to them gives that instant reinforcement to your students using that school-wide rubric and language about what it is that you're hoping that they're performing and all of the positive behaviors that they're demonstrating. And then because LiveSchool provides that real-time data to all of you as educators, you are able to better support your students by understanding what their behavioral patterns are. What trends pop up? When do they have really great days? When are they struggling? Is it a certain time period of the day? Is it a certain class? Whatever that might be. Or as an example, your last period teachers can now see and comprehend all of the students' daily interactions with the rest of their teachers, both positive and corrective. So you know if you've got a kid walking into your classroom who's had a rough day, you can have a quick conversation with them, pull them aside, help them get their head right before they jump into that lesson with you. And every other piece of data is all being recorded and shared with everyone. Then because all of your students are being recognized for all of their hard work and all of the great behavioral, data that they are demonstrating, you're also able to run a digital rewards store where you could see their live point balance, plan a rewards menu that the students can browse at any time, and really continue to motivate your students with incentives and privileges based off of all those points that they're earning. And as you run your store, you'll have all of that data to continue improving it as well. So you can see what are our most popular rewards, what has been our student purchase history, who are our top earners, and how are they being incentivized, and all of that with all of that built-in reporting. And you can also quickly check out students by scanning their QR badges and then choosing that reward. Or we've got a lot of schools who will assign all of their students into teams. So they'll have team names, they'll have team colors, and that way all the students and staff can see a house scoreboard like this one with live updates that call out when students are getting recognized for positive behavior. And that way you can run short competitions or a year-long house cup and really unite all of your students and staff to keep your engagement really high. And so as you're awarding points from all of those devices, they're automatically tallying up to the house totals. And so those points be given both to individual students or the entire house. And it's not just you that has access to this, it also goes out to all of your families. You're able to keep your families engaged without any extra work because families can either scan that student's QR badge or they can check their email for an automatic weekly update. So a recap will keep families engaged in their students' progress throughout the year. And then each recap is based on the points and the feedback that you're already tracking in your school-wide system. So you don't have to make any additional sunshine phone calls home or write that email about what a great day that one of your students had because they're able to see all that information for themselves. But to get to the real story of LiveSchool, I'm going to turn it over to Isabelle, who's going to dive into specifically how Wadsworth STEM is using LiveSchool with their students. And with that, I will kick it over to you, Isabelle.
Yeah, thank you. Hello, my name is Isabelle Grove, and I am currently teaching at Wadsworth STEM School. I teach fourth grade English language arts and social studies, and it's my second year of teaching. So I've been able to use LiveSchool as a huge incentive and classroom management system within my classroom. So obviously, as a new teacher and any teacher at all, managing classroom behavior is pretty challenging while adapting to the needs of the role and implementing everything required to be a teacher. So for myself specifically, since using LiveSchool, I've kind of noticed that the small behaviors have decreased as students compete for points in a healthy, competitive way. It allows them to compete with each other in a way that's more than just who had the best test answer or who's the smartest in the class. It kind of gives them an opportunity to transform their thinking. And it also holds all students accountable, not just like the top 5 or the top five highest or top 5 lowest. It holds them all accountable with their behaviors, and they take responsibility in the visible point tracking. Now, one of my personal favorites is that when you give a point, it makes a sound, as well as when you take a point, it makes a womp womp sound. So my students know the sound by heart. If they hear like the womp womp in the hallway when I pull up LiveSchool on my phone, I don't even have to say anything. They'll hear that womp womp, and it will even reflect from within my classroom because our bathroom is right outside of the classroom, so they can hear when they're getting it or when they're losing it. And I oftentimes, when they hear the sounds, I don't really have to correct anyone because they already know I'm going through and correcting them. And another thing I like is that it always recognizes the high performers to keep them motivated and engaged. So for instance, I have a class in the afternoon, and I like to call them busy. They're extremely busy. They're extremely chatty. And I have a solid group within them that are super quiet, super stick to the work. They don't get distracted. They don't play around with their classmates. And it gives them an opportunity to feel seen and heard while the rest of the class, because I'm not very big on taking like whole class points. I keep it down to just specific students and recognize where specific students are doing well or where they can do some work, which really motivates them to work towards the exciting rewards we have in our school. So I have prizes within my classroom, like the prize box, lunch with the teacher, but it goes as far as having lunch with the principal or having lunch with the assistant principal, and school-wide incentives like a raffle. A current one we're having is they can put their name in. If they get a certain amount of points, they get to put their name into the raffle to earn a bike. So that really motivates them, because I have a whole bunch of, honestly, my busier students who really want that bike. So I'm always holding that bike raffle over their head. And it just makes participation fun for them. They kind of start off asking like, what does LiveSchool matter? What does that point matter anyways? That's how we kind of started the year. And now they've been able to see what they can earn with their points. It really makes them imply it or implement it within the classroom. And it is what they ask for at the beginning of every single day. Every time they come into the classroom, they want to pull up their LiveSchool points so they can see their LiveSchool, and it kind of makes them track their progress daily. And we use it as a whole wide incentive. So every single morning they get to come in, we'll look at the house points, and our school does it we're in pre-K through 8. So pre-K through 8 is all within a competition within each other to see who has the most points within their grade band. And right now, of course, fourth grade does have the highest amount of points. So we are on the high roll to win our current competition. And then I'll kind of get into what we receive or lose points for. So the first thing I do with both classes, we switch. I have one class in the morning, one class in the afternoon. As soon as I get my morning class, they come in, and if they're on time, for starters, it doesn't matter what type of morning they have, what they said to anybody in the hallway, what they're wearing, they get their point for being here, and they also get a point for being on time. Now, they still get their attendance point if they come in throughout the day and they're here, but they don't get that being on time. And I think it actually encourages mine, because we have specials right away in the morning. So I'm like, oh, you get that extra point, and you're going to get extra rewards and specials because you were here on time. So that allows them, it motivates them to kind of want to be here on time. As well as, one thing I like about LiveSchool is that you can mark the absent people. So I don't even have to deselect people all the time. I can just mark them absent for the first thing in the morning. And if they come in, then I can add their points and kind of go back. But that really helps me keep track of attendance as well. And the second thing they get their points for is just being in their uniform. So our school, they wear navy blue bottoms and a navy blue top. So that's just an easy point for them to earn, and it holds them accountable for also being in their uniform, because if they're not in that uniform, they know they're not getting that extra point, which already they get 2 points for just coming to school and then an extra one for being in uniform. So they're earning 3 points a day, no matter how they perform or what type of day they've had. One I'm big on is just helping me or classmates without being asked. Like, I'll have some that come around the classroom and they'll pick up pencils or they'll do something, and I'm like, thank you so much, and I'll give them a point. And it's different when they're like, can I have a point if I do A, B, or C? I'm like, nope, do this on your own because you want to, and then we can get your points because you truly deserve it. And then just going above and beyond expectations, following classroom rules. We have our 8 classroom rules posted in the front of our classroom always. If my students get in some trouble, I'll even refer to the classroom rule that they're breaking in the LiveSchool comment if I have to take a point from them. So every time I take a point, I have gone as far as to write paragraphs of why I've taken this point. And it also is a really good way to track your behavior. So it's like, for me, when I have parent-teacher conferences, our school is really good about using LiveSchool. So I'm able to pull up their LiveSchool reports to kind of implement, hey, this is what we're seeing in the classroom. This is exactly when it took place, and this is kind of the pattern of it. Like you said, you can track your data. And then following, following instructions and participating in class. Staying on task is the biggest one I give points for, because I'll look at my class, and if like 22 out of 25 of them are on task doing what we're supposed to, I'll select all, deselect the 3 who aren't on task, and there I go again, and that's 20 points given throughout my entire class, and that raises us up even higher on the scale to win our competition. And then turning in homework, of course, is one of the ones I do, because I don't get all my homework back or anything signed hardly ever. So I make sure to really, really, really idolize them when they do bring things back, so they know how important it is. And then respecting all staff members. Like, if I notice somebody said something to a lunch lady who they don't like all the time, I'm like, you know what, there's still a staff member in your school. You're respecting all of us by respecting one of us. So that's how I hold them accountable for making sure they're implementing their rules, not just in the classroom, but all over the school as well. And then we are a STEAM school, which is our EPIC 3. So let me pull it up so I can read them. But the 5 things they can earn their points for through their EPIC 3 is an engaged learner for E, a problem solver for P, a collaborator, creative, critical thinker, and innovator. So in the classroom a lot, I like to really shout them out if I notice they've been critically thinking or they're an engaged learner, to apply that EPIC 3 within our STEAM as well, so they can kind of connect all those things and think about how they're being innovative or creative or engaging with each other, so they can see themselves in those higher category thinking words, to really apply that to their thinking and continue to motivate themselves to do as well as they're doing in school, and especially in the middle of curriculum. I love when they really go into the text and answer a question, and I make sure I really shout them out. And that's another way I leave comments. If they're telling me, like, if they go above and beyond just of what I expect of them, it gives me an opportunity to not just write bad things that they're doing within the classroom. I really get to shout them out as a learner and just a leader within the classroom.
Yeah.
And so for me, using LiveSchool, it really shifted with us from last year to this year, because last year I felt like it was really only me implementing it. There were some people who used it throughout the school, but we weren't really held accountable this year. They really encouraged us to use it. So it isn't just for the homeroom teacher anymore. Every staff member in our school has access to the LiveSchool app and can reward student behavior, ensuring that we stay consistent throughout the school. So me, the specials teachers, my teachers assistants, paras, our diverse learner teachers, they all have access to this LiveSchool, and we're all able, even my co-teacher, her and I both have access to the same students. We get to go in and give or take points. So, and like the computer lab or cafeteria, they can give positive behavior or positive points for something as completing a lesson, like an iReady lesson in the in the computer lab, or staying in their seats in the lunchroom, which is what mine really struggle with. We love to get up and run around the lunchroom, which is normal, but then they get rewarded for not doing that and following directions, and just address negative behaviors. Like one is like throwing food in the cafeteria, which of course it's going to happen. So it's just kind of something, it's quick to get them to say, hey, you're going to lose your point for this. And they can pull it up on their phones, and there's a big screen in the cafeteria where they can also pull it up. And it just really empowers, I feel like, all the staff. It gives them all a voice to just voice how students are acting. So if you notice one behavior from a student that another teacher isn't behaving, or noticing, you're able to kind of put that out there, and you can work together to acknowledge what's going on and why it might be happening that way. And then it just really reinforces positive behavior, especially in my classroom. It helps the students understand the expectations in different environments. So if we're in the computer lab, you're not just sitting in your seat. Your computer needs to stay just as nice or nicer as when you got in there. Like the mouse shouldn't be missing, nothing should be unplugged, a key shouldn't be off the keyboard. It just makes them more accountable for their materials and respecting not just their things, but everybody else's things as well. And then last but not least, the friendly competition that goes behind it. The whole school is competing, and I'll hear my students go up to another teacher in the hallway and be like, we have more points than you. And then the teachers and the students will kind of go back and forth about who's going to win and whatnot. But I made sure I go in for, especially for me, every little thing that I notice that my students can get a point for on LiveSchool, I really give it to them. Like, even if it's something as simple as being here every single day or passing an iReady lesson, I'll go back through and I'll check to make sure that they're getting the validation from all these things, so they continue to take it serious and they know that I'm not just pretending to pay attention to what's going on. And with my students, they really, really want to win this competition. So like I said, when they hear that womp womp sound because they know somebody's losing a point, they're the first person to tell that person, you need to stop doing that. They don't want to lose the points. They know that if somebody loses a point, or if 5 people lose a point, that takes 5 points from our whole class score, and we're at risk of the 3rd graders coming up to beat us. So it just motivates them to hold each other accountable as well as themselves. They know it's not just all about them in this situation.
All amazing examples of how you're putting it into play, how you've kind of transformed over time. Generally, right now, we would open it up to any of the questions that we've got from the audience. And I've got one first, if we don't have any coming in from any of our specific CPS educators. And that is, I'd love to double down on a little bit of what you said in terms of some of the minor misbehaviors kind of decreasing over time. So I'd love for you to kind of share a little bit about, like, how is it that you're able to really get your students who, all have, issues where they might want to be able to react and maybe misbehave just to get that attention. How have you kind of set up your classroom so that they recognize if they do the right thing, they'll get that kind of recognition, versus if they're doing the wrong thing, maybe that's how they would have gotten noticed in the past?
Well, I would say personally for us, I go over our rules almost daily. We have our rules listed in the very front of the room, and I specifically refer to them. So something like walking in the hallway or going to the bathroom drives me crazy when they are just all over the place. In a sense, they'll forget to stand in line the right way, or there'll be 2 people, 4 people in line that create this big herd. And because we have 1st, 2nd, and 3rd grade on our floor, and then 4th grade, I feel like it's really our responsibility to set an example. So one thing I've been able to do through LiveSchool is that they know that if they are not quiet in this hallway up here, they're going to lose that hallway passes line properly point. And so they can hear it on my phone. I'll carry my phone. They know exactly what I'm doing when I pull my phone out. If I pull my phone out, it's because I'm going in there and I'm going to take a point through them. So it's just something, it's more so the simple, small things. It's like talking in the hallway, talking when you're going to the bathroom, getting up out of your seat without raising your hand. They already kind of know to expect. And I always tell them that my 2 least favorite words in class are shutting up. So when they say that together, they already know, my whole class, those are her least favorite words. And they'll make like the womp womp sound because they know what's coming already when it comes to just something like that. And I'll tell them, it's okay to want someone to stop talking, but there's a nicer way of saying it. And just inappropriate language and behaviors in general, they already know, I'm going to take your point, but I'm also going to write the point. I'm going to give you the comment of why you did that. And, because we have parent interaction with it. So everybody's parent got their sign-in sheet, or so they can track it as well when we did report or progress report pickup. So it's like, it's not just me writing this to myself, this is going to be notified to your parents' email as soon as I put this through. So it's just those type of small things. Obviously, we still have some big behavior issues that can't be solved by getting a point or losing a point, but it really so helps with the don't get out of your seat unless you've raised your hand, or stop talking in the hallway, or don't talk to your friends in the bathroom, or don't throw food in the cafeteria, or don't say mean things to each other. It just kind of takes away some of those because they know they'll be held accountable for what they do.
Yeah. One, and another thing that you really called out that I think a lot of the teachers, especially in CPS, are always wondering is how we really use any kind of classroom behavior management or motivational tool to increase that respect for staff, right? Like so much of what you are doing happens in your classroom, but you mentioned you've specifically been helping your students to show respect to other staff members, to your cafeteria staff, to all of the paraprofessionals and teachers' aides that are in other rooms. Can you share a little bit, like, how do you set your students up to recognize how important it is for them to show respect outside of their room and outside of just their time with you?
I know for me, I get exhausted because sometimes I feel like my students think that I'm the only person throughout the entire school that they can go to with an issue. So I'll pick them up from lunch, I'll pick them up for recess, and there's 10,000 things that happen during this time, but not a single one of them told an adult in the lunchroom or anybody outside at recess. So it's like, okay, this is curriculum time now where I'm supposed to be teaching you how to write an essay. And now we're talking about who hit who at the playground an hour ago. So to kind of eliminate some of this stuff, I have an amazing TA who's in my classroom with me for about 15 minutes after we come up from recess. So it kind of makes it so I can lead the class, and anything that's happened at recess, she can log in the LiveSchool and talk to them and work with them in a smaller group so that we're not completely shifting our entire focus to whatever happened at recess. That's like one of my big things. My second class is, of course, it's the afternoon, after lunch, after recess. Something always has happened that has got them all just on edge. Somebody is upset about something every single day, every single one of them. So just kind of having like, it's not always all on me because the teachers in the lunchroom are kind of able to like correct them. So if somebody in the lunchroom has something to tell me, I'm able to kind of put that onto my students. I'm like, okay, you may not like this certain worker in the school, but these rules still apply to you wherever you are throughout the school. And when you kind of put them in the mindset of like, just because I'm not there doesn't mean you don't have to follow the rules. I think it holds them more accountable because they don't want to be embarrassed for me to hear that they were doing a bad job in the lunchroom. And then I apply that to them in their LiveSchool, which embarrasses them because now they got two people who are on them for being rude in the lunchroom, or really just out of their seats, or going to the bathroom when because I take mine to the bathroom right before we go to lunch. And so it's like, okay, you knew you shouldn't go to the bathroom when we just went, unless it's an emergency. Of course they can go to the bathroom, but they like to sneak in there and play and clog the sinks and do whatever they can. So it just it allows them to remember that this just isn't for show for your homeroom teacher. Everyone in the building hold you accountable for this, and I'm also going to hold you accountable for what you did during these times. So just kind of like take it to this person who's with you there so they can help you take care of the situation so it doesn't have to drag on to when we come into the classroom.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we really appreciate you getting to share your story here, and hopefully there are just so many CPS educators that are able to then take all of those points to heart and put them in play in their own classrooms. For everybody watching this, you might be wanting to know, how is it that we can continue learning from Isabelle? And so I'm sharing her contact information up here, as well as we'll share it in the deck that we share it with this recording. So if you have other questions and you either want to ask Isabelle them or myself or Susa, my teammate from the LiveSchool side, then we're always happy to jump in and provide any additional answers that you might have. One other thing that is included in this deck are some helpful links. So if you are just getting started with LiveSchool, if you want to beg, borrow, and steal more ideas from Wadsworth or from any of our other great LiveSchool partners in CPS, you've got a lot of great links here, including a page full of resources, decks, videos that you can use to train yourself or your colleagues, examples of rubrics and rewards that are being used across all of CPS and across the country. And more than anything, we just want to say thank you so much to all of you. We know you're always looking for great solutions for your students. If you want to revisit anything, don't forget, we'll share this deck out as a resource and the recording. And we can't wait to see what you accomplish with LiveSchool this year. Thank you so much, everyone, and have a great rest of your day.